There was no desire, there was no passion for me to be one day a pastor. My worship journey, where did it all start? Well, I grew up in a family that was very much talented. My mom was an alto, my dad played the guitar and loved music. He still have a huge collection of LPs, for those of you that still remember LPs, vinyl records, and all I listened to was gospel music. And I remember as a 5-year-old boy in the pews of a wooden church called Doc's Mission Factoryton, whenever the hymns were played, I used to stand up and I used to sing as if I knew the words, and I was shouting to the top of my voice. And my mom had to constantly quiet me down as the congregants were giving her some crazy looks. There and then already I knew that music is going to play an important role in my life. But I never set out. I never wanted to be a pastor. However, as a young man growing up, I loved football. I fell in love with soccer, and I was always on the soccer field. I always played with a ball. And I joined a club called Kensington Football Club on 14th Avenue Soccer Field. And there I, just had a passion. I wanted to be Diego Maradona. That was my star at the time. But they called me Dr. Khumalo because of my desire to want to be like Dr. Khumalo. So for those of you that knows Dr. Khumalo, he was very much a skillful player, and I desired to be a skillful player. However, sometimes and most of the times that skill got me into trouble. But I remember being on the soccer field, and my dad called me one day, and my dad says, "Theo, you need to go and study music." Now, as a 12-year-old boy, my heart was in the field, my heart was in soccer, and I never had in mind to go and study music. And I remember I agreed, and I told my dad, no, it's fine. And I went to a music school in our area. I remember at Grace Chapel Church, where the music teacher was Luther Lang. And I remember stepping into the church or into the building that day, and wow, what an experience. I started on bass guitar, and from bass I moved over to learn the keyboard piano. And I'm thankful today for Luther Lang and for his contribution to my life. But my heart was still on the soccer field. This was just a side thing for me. And whenever my friends on the soccer field heard me going to music practice, they used to make fun of me because music was not for boys at that time. Music was for girls. And I had to face that constant, battle weekly on the soccer field. However, I continued my soccer career. I wanted to, play for Bafana. And that was my desire. My desire was to be a soccer player, to be a professional soccer player. However, God had something different in store for my life. My dad always encouraged me, and he says, "Theo, you can play soccer professionally up to the age of 35. However, music you can play up to 70, 80 years old." However, my heart was still on the soccer field, and that was my goal in life. I never wanted to be a pastor. I never saw myself as a pastor. I grew up in a home. My dad wasn't a pastor at the time, but my dad was very much involved in ministry. But there was no desire, there was no passion for me to be one day a pastor. I moved from Kensington Football Club to Maitland Football Club, and there I thoroughly enjoyed my time. We had an opportunity to play in the Bale tournament. It was one of the most prestigious cups if you were still under 19. And I remember scoring a goal against Cape Town Spurs then. And wow, that was a highlight of my life. But my career, my football career, came to an end when one of the opposition players horribly tackled me and dislocated my knee. And since that injury, I never played again the same. And therefore, I decided, I hung up my boots, although I had a desire to continue, but I always fear that the next tackle is going to, take me out. I completed matric, and my parents blessed me with a trip to Canada to visit my relatives over there, and also to look at the future, possible future for myself in Canada. But I'll talk about that in the next episode.